Hey guys, and welcome back to Divine Journey 2. So last episode we continued through the Astral Sorcery chapter, and we now have only 2 quests to go. The first of which is to make the Star of Revelation. So all we're missing now is 2 ever-shifting fountains, which I did make 2 more containment chalices for. That was so much fun. And also 4 more infused glass. And finally we also need 2 celestial gateways, which we're just using for crafting here, but we may end up setting these up as teleporters. Oh hey, it was even a quest. But now we can craft our second to last item in this quest line, the Star of Revelation. Man, this is expensive. Wow. So now we can use this item. It's similar to things like the Lamp of Cinders, and this does not get consumed when you're crafting, but now we can unlock Galacticraft Ingots. Alright, so we have completed Astral Sorcery. Well, kind of. But there's still like 1 or 2 items down here that we'll pick up later on. Let's also just claim the quest rewards here as well. Nothing amazing, but I'm sure they'll all be useful at some point. So yeah, this is unlocked as chapter 24, which I'm really looking forward to. This is going to be more tech. And I suppose we've actually finished the second magic block of the pack. We've beaten Botania, Blood Magic, Abyssocraft, Bewitchment, Thaumcraft, and Lightningcraft. But before we go flying into chapter 24, I'd like to take a little step back to chapter 16, as we now have access to all of the tier 4 mystical agriculture seeds. So the process of unlocking the tier 4 seeds is going to involve the infusion crystal first of all. So we've already made the Prudentium one, we have to make a couple more so that we can upgrade this to Intermedium. And this thing was locked before Astral Sorcery, as we need Stardust to craft this. But Stardust really isn't an issue for us at this point. It may end up becoming an issue though in Galacticraft. We'll see. So now with our infusion crystal we can set up a recipe for Superium, which is the next mystical agriculture essence. And just to get the ball rolling right now, I'm going to request maybe 200. We'll need a lot more than 200, but 200 should do us to start off with. Alright, so now it's more or less the same story as the tiers below this. We have to use the previous tier of seed, plus the next tier of essence to create the tier 4 crafting seed. And so we do already have a lot of these tier 3s pre-crafted here. These come from the infusion crafting, and the tier below is the runic altar, and then the tier below that is the ender crafter. Except this time we have to use the iridescent altar. Oh, it's only going to give us 2 at a time? Oh, that's going to be a lot of clicking. Alright, 18 tier 4 seeds. I think that should be enough. Although maybe not actually, there's actually a few seeds per quest. But yeah, check out all the stuff we get access to now. This is amazing. I've been waiting so long for these seeds. So we have things like diamonds, no more worrying about diamonds, iridium, electrotine, emerald. We can also get the nether ingots like the cobalt, the ardite. What else is here? Dark steel, oh this is so good. Signalum. Oh, there's even the Abyssocraft things here as well. We get dreadium seeds. Oh, and there's mithril seeds. Oh, mithril was such a pain to make. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, where do we even start with this? Ghast seeds? Let's start with the diamond though. We have to start with diamond, right? So as you might be able to tell here, there is a constellation associated with each seed. So this one, if I'm not mistaken, is Visio. Yeah, this is the Visio constellation. So to be able to craft the diamond seed, we have to attune a rock crystal to Visio and slot it into our iridescent altar up here. So not that the rock crystals are particularly expensive, but I think we're going to do a little switch up here. Instead of using the atomic disassembler, we're going to instead make another bound pick. Oh, that's the wrong way. Of course it is. I always do that. That way round. There we go. Yeah, another bound pickaxe. And we're going to use one of the Astral Sorcery enchantments we got last episode, which is Fortune 6. I don't know if it goes any higher than this, but I mean Fortune 6 is still crazy. So I think we'll retire this disassembler. It's getting a little bit too fast, especially with the Astral perks. I mean, this is plenty fast enough. Plus it allows us very efficient yields from our rock crystal ore. There, that might even be enough for one for each of the constellations. But let's first of all start with the Visio attunement. And you know what, we'll even be fancy and name our attuned crystals here. There, that one's Visio, and there's a Lucerna here somewhere. I think it might already be in the table, yeah. And the attuned ones we can just store in this chest for crafting. But the Visio attunement lets us craft our first tier 4 seed, the diamond seed. And before we add it to our mega farm over here, let's actually just take a stock count of how many diamonds we're on. Just through our quarries and passive generation, we have 11,000 right now. Which is really nothing special. We've been hovering around 10k for like maybe 2 weeks at this point. We did run out a little bit before that, but yeah, it's been around 10k for a good while by now. So let's give this a spot with maximum hydrator coverage, and we'll give it a drawer. And for every single seed, we're going to have to add the filters in for the crafters so that we can have the diamonds themselves and not just the essences. So we need to add the essence to the interface, give it a filter in the crafter, set the diamond recipe, and we have effectively infinite diamonds. And I guess this belongs in a compacted drawer. So yeah, that was just one of the tier 4 seeds. And of course there are many of these things. I haven't counted them, but yeah, we're going to need a different constellation for each one. And some of them, for example the dark steel, actually take the previous tier of seed. And also, things like refined obsidian also take the obsidian seed. So this adds up to be quite a lot of crafting here. I'm going to try to see how many we can get done. I hope we have enough materials at least for all of this. But the most time consuming part by far is going to be all of this constellation attunement. Wow, the amount of crafting needed here is insane. So we've actually only got a couple of these seeds by now. We managed to get all the precious ones, and I had to actually do another Mark of the Fallen Tower ritual. We were 1 electrotine short for this. And we also have the mithril, mana steel and elementium, which is probably by far the most expensive one so far. These mithril seeds take 8 different of the tier 3 seeds on their own, and these mob ones take the mob chunks, and each mob chunk is an infusion craft. Plus the seeds themselves, and then things like platinum take nickel seeds, which is more infusion. So yeah, this was like 50 plus infusions, and you have to make 3 of these things, as you need mithril to make mana steel, and then you need the mana steel seed itself, then you have to use the mana steel for elementium. So it was 2 different mana steels and 3 mithril seeds altogether, and man, I did not expect all that infusion craft. And we're still not done even there. We still have to get things like vibrant alloy, pulsating iron. I have been adding them to the crafters though, as I've gotten the seeds. So yeah, we're up to full drawers of elementium and mana steel now, which is amazing. And this does mean that we can actually turn off our mana steel production here and save a bit of Botania mana. Not that we're short on mana, it's just there's no reason to be creating mana steel like this anymore. Alright, I think for now that's going to be enough seed crafting. We'll come back to the ones that we need as we find more demand for them. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of demand in chapter 24. So let's jump into Galacticraft, which starts with the Galactic machine frame, and this is a tier up from black iron frames. And this uses our Galactic Ingot we made at the start of the episode, and also tough Galactic Plating. Oh, and before we do that, the very last seed actually here is the Enderman seed that I have crafted, which is going to give us infinite Ender Pearls, and means that we don't have to chunk load our Enderman farm here anymore. And same with this laser base actually, this was given us iridium ore. I think this was previously the only way to get this, but we have the iridium seeds by now. So yeah, less load on the server is always a good thing as well. There is also these ender crystals which are dropped by the Enderman, but there is a crafting recipe for Enderium, which we can get seeds for. So either we can do the crafting recipe like this, or we could just set up powered spawners for the Enderman instead, which I reckon would probably be faster than this setup anyway. And one last thing actually before we move to Galacticraft, I think we can now fully sustain this passive machine frames. Even though we don't have end steel seeds, we still have end stone being produced by essence, dark steel, and also obsidian. So yeah, let's turn all of this back on, get all these processes going again. As yeah, we're going to need a lot of machine frames going forward. Yeah, looks like we've already buffered a lot of these Ender IO versions. Alright, so I've spent a little bit of time developing this area, and I think we're going to stick our Galacticraft machines in this corner of the base here. So yeah, to start off with, as the quest book recommends, we're going to produce a lot of these galactic platings, which take mithril plates, nickel plates, and iridium plates. And the best way to make plates is with the compactor. However, this thing, even when it's fully upgraded, is still kinda slow. So I think we're going to do 2 compactors per plate type. So we will also need an applied energistics connection here, and I think there is a main line underneath these stairs. Could be wrong. No, it's right there. Nice. So let's give this room its own P2P connection. So we're going to have an interface to supply the ingots. So it was nickel, mithril, and iridium ingots. And we'll need a power cell for power, and we'll run conduit to all of our machines. And then each compactor is going to get its own filter for each of the ingots. So first one will be iridium, second one is going to be nickel, and the third one is going to be mithril. We will set round robin on the output of the interface, and I think we have to configure these to input from the back. There, so now we're making 3 of the different plates we need. I think we might need some extract speed on the conduit output here though. Yeah, now we're getting the ingots in. But of course this is way too slow. Let's make them all resonant here and give them maximum upgrades. So since we've stacked the compactors like this, I wanted to leave room just in case this wasn't enough production. So if it turns out we need more compactors, we can just stack them vertically. And the outputs are coming from the backside as well, and we're going to output that into the drawer controller. And then we'll have to enable the output on the compactors here. Alright, what do we think for speed of plating here? Do we think this is going to be enough? I don't know, we'll see. So we have to now send this through the alloy smelter from Ender.io, and we're going to use the advanced version, and this is kind of the reason I didn't want to stack them in our old machine wall over there, is because these are 2 blocks tall. So now we have to get the items inside the alloy smelter, so we'll use a limited item filter for this, for each of the 3 different types of plating. But this is going to give us our tough galactic plating, which is the item we need for the quest. We have to also still make this machine frame though, and I think we want to have at least a recipe for this. I don't think we want to do this passively yet. This is way too expensive for a passive process. But let's also output this to a drawer below. And since all 3 of these inputs are free for us, basically, we're farming these with essences, we might as well upgrade this tough galactic plating drawer. I mean, all that it costs is RF, which is free for us as well, so we just have to let this thing run. And we may end up adding some more alloy smelters, which is why I've left room on this side of the wall here. And so to make these machine frames, we're also going to need to be able to craft these galactic ingots. But since we can't use 82 for this, it will actually consume the Star of Revelation, and I'm definitely not up for crafting another one of these things. We can still encode the recipe for it, but take out the star. And let's see, this gives us 5 ingots at a time, so we'll need to include 5 ingots on the output. And then we'll have a RF Tools crafter here with the Star of Revelation inside, and we'll put the pattern in the interface below this. And that way when we request galactic ingots, it's going to put in the resonating gems and the star metal. We'll want to set the recipe for galactic ingots, except we want this on external C, so it should keep the star in the internal buffer. And if we hit apply, it puts the galactic ingots in the output, and then we just have to extract back into the ME interface. So now that we can request those 2 items, we can have a recipe for the machine frame. I think though actually we will have to address our star metal and set it up in a way that we can actually request this. Let's come back to that in a second though. For now, I think we can craft our machine frames. Oh, we can't. I'm missing the storage bus again. Okay, so our next quest here is to get some circuit fabricators. And this looks like a little bit of a scary craft, but it's actually not too bad. I think we've got everything here except for these clearance processors, which I think are made with elementium. And way back when we set up our inscribers, I did leave some space for this. So let's add another 3 inscriber setups here. And then set all the filters on these things. And we can't forget about the acceleration cards. These inscribers are awful without these acceleration cards. And lastly, just encode the recipe for this, which because of the way we've got it set up, is just going to take an elementium ingot input and give us the clearance processor as the output. So now we have clearance processors, which should allow us to make these circuit fabricators with a little bit of extra crafting. So since there is 5 different recipes for these, we're going to want 5 of these circuit fabricators, which means we'll need 20 quantum discs. Can we request this? Almost. We're missing some estimation circuits. We are going to need 20 ultimate control circuits, which apparently we don't have enough lunar reactive dust. Let's fix that. Just with a few drawer upgrades. Actually, you know what? Let's just take it up to a full drawer. Let's just do 32 stacks of this stuff. So we'll also need 4 more galactic machine frames. Oh yeah, this is where things start to get a lot more expensive for us. Although that is only 2, what are we missing for more? Oh, just more energy conduits? So there is 5 different recipes for these wafers. And I did look at this, but I didn't actually realise that these take rainbow tablets and Botania runes. Wow, okay. Where do we start with these things? It also takes quantum disk input. So I found that these compactors we just set up actually weren't being saturated fast enough. So instead of just the one interface, I've given them 1 each. Now we just have to figure out where we're going to place these circuit fabricators. One thing the quest does point out here is that we can only power these things from the left hand side, which means we couldn't do something like this with them. We do have to leave a space in between, or maybe stack them vertically. Okay, so I think a configuration like this is going to work for us with the circuit fabricators. We have them all being powered from the left hand side, and we're taking outputs out of the bottom and inputs into the top. But since these are such complex recipes, even for these basic wafers, we need a rainbow tablet for this. I think we're going to do them on demand for now. And then once we fix our rainbow tablet production, I think we're going to have to add our second blood magic altar for this, because yeah, this is going to take a lot of rainbow slates and mystical tablets, so it's a lot of mana as well. So yeah, because the input items are so complex here, we're just going to have processing pattern recipes for these. So we need the solar array, the blue solar, advanced wafer, and the basic wafer. So we'll have to give these an applied energistics connection. And just to keep things a bit cleaner, we can use some ME conduit in this block space to hook them all up. So we should actually be able to request all 3 of these input items for each of the different wafers. Basically the rune, the rainbow tablet, and the quantum disk. But we're still missing these silicon wafers in the middle. And we do have some of them here. We're making Project Red silicon here, along with the silicon compound, which has to be smelted into the infused silicon. And this is what we use in our circuit fabricator. But since this setup is missing the smelting step, and we're actually also missing the cheesy silicon, which is going to involve us making cheese curds. Wait, how do we make this? Cheese ore? I mean, we don't have any cheese ore. Is there any other way to get this? Can we cheese this? Maybe we don't need cheese ore until we visit the moon or something, I don't know. But either way, I think we're going to move this setup to over next to our Galacticraft area, because there's not really enough room here to expand this. Alright, how's this for some silicon production? This is crazy. Yeah, we're actually bottlenecked here by our crafter speed. And we do have silicon essence. I'm sure I did add that to a crafter for silicon. It just may be too slow since, yeah, it's not keeping up with this thing. But yeah, this is our basic silicon, which is used for the basic wafers. So I guess now we have this on passive. But for the cheesy and the energized, we have to induction smelt them with various different types of materials here. So let's make enough machines for all of them, even though we can't get the cheese right now. So then we have the round robin out of the silicon drawer into all 3 of the induction smelters. And that, along with the extra component, can give us all 4 different types of compounds. And you know what? The whole reason we moved it over here is to have the smelting step, because this just gives us compound, which we have to smelt down into the silicon itself. And the way we have this set up doesn't really allow for that, so let's fix that. Alright, that's a bit better. We definitely need some muffling upgrades on these though. And let's make sure we fully upgrade all of these machines. I'm not sure why for some reason this is Signalum tier. I think it must have already been recycled from an old setup somewhere. Couldn't tell you where though. Alright, there's an upgrade kit to fix that. So now all we need on this, I think, is just a drawer controller with a storage bus. And we'll also need to storage bus the regular silicon as well. This one here ended up all on its own. That's okay. Alright, so that should now mean that we can request these wafers as part of the quest. It might take a little while to craft because of these rainbow tablets, but let's try to get at least 16 of each for the quest. Oh, and we're already missing the recipe for the rainbow tablet. And because these rainbow tablets take specifically the transcendent tier of blood orb, we're going to make a second one here. Oh wait, we have to fill this with Evocraft blood first. A full machine buffer's worth of it. So this one can stay in the blood altar, and the other one we can use in our ME system for crafting, which can let us encode the recipe for the rainbow tablets. Alright, so now we can request each of the different types of wafers, and it looks like it did input all the items into the correct slots here. It's output to the output slot, which has to be taken out on the bottom side, which for now has to go back to the interface in order to complete the craft. So right now we're just going to insert on blue channel back to this middle interface for them all, but we will place a storage bus on the drawers here, so that we can assign the output drawers to here for when we have them on passive. Okay, so we managed to get 2 of the wafers crafted up. We're still missing the advanced and the blue solar, which is because we're missing lavender quartz in order to make our rainbow tablet. And the lavender quartz we produce over here next to all of the other versions of our Britannia quartz. However, the lavender takes allium, which is easy to get, and also elven quartz, which is made with terrasteel nuggets. And our terrasteel at the moment is only made on demand. I have a feeling actually that this crafter is taking a lot of the lavender quartz to make us Salus Mundus. Although this drawer is almost full, so let's just actually batch craft a bunch more of this stuff. I'm gonna just request like 20 terrasteel right now, which should only craft if we have enough mana. But each piece of terrasteel can get us a lot of quartz because it's only using nuggets. So yeah, this should do us for the time being, I think. Yeah, we can already see this elven quartz trickling into the lavender quartz. Okay, we managed to get enough rainbow tablets so that we can request the rest of our wafers here. So there's still a few issues for us to address with these fabricators. But let's move on to the next quest, which is the electric compressor, which unsurprisingly takes some of these wafers to craft, along with the basic compressor. Okay, so more machine frames, some basic wafers, compression reagents. I don't think we have a recipe for this, but this shouldn't be too difficult to add a recipe for. And then, yeah, even more quantum discs and tough galactic plating. We're actually up to almost 3,000 of this galactic plating by now. Okay, so before we try to craft these compressors up, let's try to think about how many we need. Looks like all of them use the galactic ingots and tough galactic plating, and there is 11 pages of recipes here. Oh wait, maybe not 11. These are, I guess, not recipes, but 6 pages of recipes. Although these 2 on the end here are titanium and desh. I think we can only get these on other planets, so I'm not going to worry about those right now. So counting out the recipes we can make from this, I think there's 7 different versions. So I guess we go for 7 different compressors here. So since we're doing so many of these things and we'll need them also in the future, let's put in the recipe for this. Which, even just looking at this is already getting crazy. So can we get 7 of these? We're missing some hyper diamonds and some coated clathrates. I think both of these are just buffer issues though. But man, look at all these materials. Alright, we do actually have to address these coated clathrates. It was a long time ago we set this process up. But it looks like we've run out of resonant clathrates, which spawn as ore in the end. However, we can also get it from Enderium Essence and Flint, which is going to be a lot easier than trying to mine the end up. We are still missing Enderium seeds though. So to make the Enderium seeds we need lead seeds. We are also going to need platinum seeds. And I did craft up a spare Enderman seed earlier on, and it looks like this is a Avitas constellation it needs to be. There's the platinum seed, which we can then craft into our Enderium seed. So since we'll obviously want to make Enderium with this, we can add it to a crafter here. But what we're interested in right now is the clathrates, which do take an external item, i.e. not mystical agriculture essence. So rather than trying to import into the subnet over there in the void world, we're going to just instead craft with this over at our main base. We have a little space here from something. I don't really know why there's a space here. But we can encode the recipe for resonant clathrates. And even though the essence is being shared among the crafters in the void, I don't think it will be too long for it to fill its buffer. And this should give us plenty of resonant clathrates for the quantum discs. Okay, that's one bottleneck fixed. Let's see if there's any more. So 7 compressors. Oh, but now the issue becomes the speed of these 2 machines. And the recipe for the compressor also said it was missing some hyper diamonds, so let's change the stock keep of this. 512? Yeah, let's just go crazy. That thing is going to be exploding for quite a while. Alright, now it looks like we can request our 7 compressors. But these are only the basic tier. The quest wants us to make the electric tier, which I guess we probably should do. Let's see, this is going to take more galactic plating, more wafers, and superheating elements. Okay, this isn't that bad of an upgrade though. Okay, we're almost there crafting these compressors. It took around 15 minutes or so. I think it's mainly because of this Reductus, which is a tier 4 alchemy table craft. And I forgot that we actually don't have these on passive yet. So I set these alchemy tables up, we're just still to add the recipes for these. But I think many of these input items now for the tier 4 is actually a lot cheaper for us. But here is all the components for the compressors. And we can make all of these electric tier. But before we automate these compressors, there is a few input items that we have to first tackle. Mainly these sheet metals. So we have steel, aluminium, tin, iron and copper. Which means that we have to do the plating for each one and then craft them into sheet metals. So I think we can just simply do 5 compactors into 5 different crafters, and we'll have a separate interface for each one. Alright, that was a lot of clicks. But we got the ingots and also the plates filtered in each of the crafters. And the plates are just being auto output to the top side of the compactor. So we have copper sheet metal, iron sheet metal, tin, aluminium, or aluminum, and steel. So now all of those sheet metals have to go inside our compressors, along with the galactic ingots, which wasn't going to passive, but maybe that's actually not a bad idea. We won't have enough aquamarine though is the issue. And I'm not sure what the best way to get aquamarine is. But let's see if we can at least get the other inputs into these compressors. And I think for the setup we can actually just use more or less the same as the circuit fabricators, since these still have to be powered from the left, input from the top and output from the bottom. Oh, but I guess there's 7 of these things though. There. Alright, I think we got a layout here that can work. The only thing is, I went to filter in these compressors, and we have this issue here. So the electric compressor will not sort itself, unlike the circuit fabricators here. So if we want to make sure the input items get put into the correct slots, I think we're going to have to use integrated dynamics for this. Okay, so to get this set up to work, I've moved the interfaces up 1 block, and we're buffering in impulse hoppers. And the impulse hopper is set to pull from the interface. And one more thing is I've separated out the sheet metal, since it takes 6 of this. And it will basically take in order here. So we wanted to place the first 3 first, then the ingot, then the galactic plating, and then 3 more sheet metal underneath. Then we have an integrated tunnels item interface, an exporter, and an inventory reader on this. Then all we have to do is take a slots filled variable, which I'm going to give a name here just so that we can keep track of our variables. And then we just have to run this variable through an increment, and then put the increment in the export item slot section. Make sure to separate out the channels and have item transfer rate of 1 and exact amount true. And then put the variable back in the variable store, and this should, once we activate the impulse hopper, should start filling the electric compressor and giving us our compressed copper. Okay, so this setup works for the 5 different types of plating, which take the 6 input items. However, there is 2 more here that we counted out when we made the compressors, and that is compressed bronze and heavy duty plating. And to get the bronze ones to work, all we have to do actually here is to use a limited item filler with the compressed tin and the compressed copper, which gives us our compressed bronze. And because these platings are very, very expensive for us, hello zombie, we're going to storage downgrade all of these drawers for now. And then the very last one, the heavy duty plating, takes compressed bronze, compressed steel and compressed aluminium. And this one I think we'll just do on demand as we need it. So we can remove all of this stuff, and instead we can just put the interface directly on top of the compressor, and we can just encode a recipe for heavy duty plating. And then will we need blocking mode on this? I don't think we'll need blocking mode on this. But yeah, then the outputs can just come out at the bottom here. Here we will have to input back to the interface since this is a on-demand craft. But since the storage bus on this drawer controller is high priority, it should prioritize storing the outputs in this drawer anyway. So is this going to work if we request 2 heavy duty plates? So are you going to work? You are, nice. Yeah, and it does seem to filter them in if you supply it with the interface. And there's our quest. Make sure to set this drawer. So that opens up quite a lot of options for us here. However, I think we're going to save the rest for next episode. We actually made a good start into Galacticraft today, and got some very, very essential infrastructure and processes up and running. Mainly these tough galactic platings, which we're actually up over 7,000 now. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow to progress through some more Galacticraft. And yeah, there's a lot of things for us to fix here. Things are getting very, very expensive. But yeah, that is going to do us for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some more Divine Journey 2.